Good day. I'm Thomas Jefferson, sent here in a time capsule to make an ASMR video for you on this fine President's Day. I'd like to honor all presidents, including myself, and what better way to do it? So, sit back and relax. I can't believe I kept a straight face. I know that voice is probably not relaxing, so I just thought it would be fun because I have this Thomas Jefferson wig, and this is what it looks like. And I also have George Washington. And Abraham Lincoln. But Thomas Jefferson looked best on me, so I went with that. And these are actually wigs for my sister's birthday party that I'm planning. And I figured it's President's Day, and why not share with you guys some of the things that I'm doing for her birthday party, and also talk about the presidents. So one of the things I'd like to do is involves cutting a lot of paper because I have to make bingo boards, and I will share some things about the presidents with you. I hope you guys enjoy. So, let me just show you a few other things I have planned for her birthday party before we dive into the educational part. This is the cake I'm going to make her. And I have planned what color I'm going to dye my icing and how I'm going to get the icing on there. And I'm really excited about it. I also found a great idea. My sister's favorite president is Lincoln, and so I thought it would be funny if I made her a birthday border that said 106 years ago, Rachel Ann Davis was brought forth into this nation. Let us celebrate. Happy birthday. So, I'm gonna crumple up this paper and soak it in tea. And it will give it the effect of old, like, you know how the Declaration of Independence looks now, like the official one? I'm kind of going for that old time look, and then I'm going to string it together and hang it for her. So, it's really exciting. And I got some fun, like, presidential things, colors to serve stuff in. I'm going to serve her a meal that is, even though it's a presidential birthday party, the meal's going to be like a colonial meal, and I'm going to have turkey legs, cornbread, apples, like spiced apples, and potatoes and cabbage. And a lot of the colonial people relied heavily on corn and wheat, and they ate a lot of cornbread and wildfowl. And in the South, I think it was from Africa that potatoes and cabbage were brought, and it became a staple the in the South. So it'll be really yummy, and I hope she'll like it. Okay, so I already showed you guys these cards in another video. And what I'm going to do is to take them and poke holes and then string them together in a border. So that will be a fun and cheap way for me to do that. And I think I read some of these cards to you last time, and if we have time today, I will definitely go through them and talk about these presidents a little bit more. So, we shall see. Okay. The majority of this video, I am going to be cutting these president faces for my presidential bingo. I found these bingo cards online, and I decided I would just make some myself. And I have somebody request a coupon cutting video, and I just couldn't get my hands on any coupons lately. So I figured I would cut presidents instead. So that is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to put them on these. And this says free space at the Lincoln Memorial. I love paper sounds. I love listening to people cut. Sometimes I like it when people are silent, but other times I like to hear people talk also. So I will not be completely silent. Also, it's important for me to note that I am a very uneven and sloppy cutter. These are all straight lines, so it should be relatively easy. Some interesting facts about the presidents. As you all know, the first presidents, like Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, John Quincy Adams, James Monroe, James Madison, they're known as the Founding Fathers, in conjunction with Benjamin Franklin, and he was never president, but he was, I believe, considered a founding father. And something a lot of people don't know is that the founding fathers, they actually disliked Americans, their fellow Americans. They felt that fellow Americans did have the right to be free, but that they were drunkards and overly promiscuous and just were not happy with how regular citizens conducted themselves. I believe it was James Monroe that said that he almost wished that we would have lost the revolution because Americans didn't deserve, acted in such a way that they didn't deserve freedom. That's terrible. But nonetheless, they did fight for our freedom, and they did write the Declaration of Independence, and to this day, people in America and the United States, they enjoy their way of life because of that. Partly because of that, so. And actually, the presidents, the founding fathers, they did not make very much money being presidents. In fact, after their presidency, a lot of them were so broke that they died leaving debt to their family. They had to find jobs. George Washington had a whiskey distillery after he was president. I think Andrew Jackson was a lawyer, and so on and so forth. So even though they felt that they didn't like the way Americans behaved, they still did them a service by being presidents. Of course, they butted heads sometimes. You know, there's this big picture that we paint of the founding fathers standing around enjoying camaraderie, and to some degree that is true, but they did have a lot of disputes. Naturally. They all had ideas of how they wanted to run the country. So I'm going to flip these over and choose 24 at random and glue them onto this page. Thomas Jefferson was an inventor. I recently went to visit his home in Monticello. And it was pretty interesting. Looks like I got James Buchanan. But Thomas Jefferson bought so many trinkets and things that when he died, he was the equivalent of what today would be millions of dollars of debt. So they really did not make much money or have a comfortable type of lifestyle. Thomas Jefferson and Teddy Roosevelt. I don't know if you can see. George Bush. Truman. It also is not uncommon for Zachary Taylor. It also is not uncommon for the founding fathers to have affairs with their slaves or their maids. I think George Washington impregnated a slave. Thomas Jefferson had an ongoing affair with Sally Hemings. were just human. They made mistakes. Lots of presidents made mistakes. I wonder if I should do 4 and 4. No, because then you can't have the free space. Duh. John Quincy Adams, one of the founding fathers, he used to like to skinny dip in the Potomac River. It's kind of funny. Lincoln was a wrestler. In fact, he was only defeated once out of 300 matches. Pretty crazy. Andrew Jackson, the 7th president. I think he was the 7th president. Yeah. He was the first president that somebody tried to assassinate, and it was unsuccessful. And Jackson actually ended up beating the guy with his cane. He was in a lot of duels. One of the only presidents, or maybe the only president. So he was kind of cool. Let's see. The next president that somebody tried to assassinate was Lincoln. And the story goes that he was at Ford Theater and Booth, John Booth, I think, shot him. And several people were questioned afterwards for being part of the conspiracy, friends of Booth, etc. And it was found that his original intention was actually to just kidnap Lincoln, because he wanted to hold him for ransom so that Grant, in exchange, would release the Confederate prisoners up north. However, change of plans, he ended up shooting Lincoln. Something really interesting is that Lincoln's son, Robert Lincoln, years later, was going to meet with President James Garfield. I think he was like Secretary of State or something. And Garfield was assassinated in front of him. And then Robert Lincoln, years after that, was going to meet with William McKinley, the president, and William McKinley was assassinated in front of Robert Lincoln. And Robert Lincoln said, "I will not meet with any more presidents. It seems that apparently I'm bad luck." Totally coincidental. Of course, everybody knows JFK was assassinated. Harry Oswald was his assassinator. Some interesting things you might not know about Kennedy, though. his assassination, afterwards, a letter was found from Oswald to the CIA. But upon further research, it was determined that the letter was forged to make the American people think the CIA were involved. There's so many conspiracy theories, and historians say it's likely that the KGB, the Russian CIA, were responsible for the letter. You know, this was during the Cold War. No offense to any Russians who are watching or any non-Americans. This is simply just what I've learned or what I've read or what I've heard. So I really hope no one is offended. Regardless, it was tragedy. Kennedy actually had leukemia, and in college it went away, but as a result he had Addison's disease, where his adrenal glands did not appropriately function. And before he started running for president, he was 6 feet, like 150 pounds, severely underweight. And so his grandpa, who helped him with his campaign, ended up talking him into using testosterone and steroids to improve his weight and his health. And so, kind of crazy. Also, Kennedy and Nixon were friends. They ended up running against each other, and things got really nasty. And they really, really, really ended up disliking each other. And there's a lot of animosity towards Nixon for the Watergate scandal. The Watergate scandal, I'm not 100% sure what went down with that, but I did read or see somewhere that it was Kennedy who first started using the IRS as a tactic to scare people, or I think he used the IRS to scare the steel industry into lowering the price of steel, and it's big and espionage and all this other stuff that Nixon was criticized for. So, just an interesting fact. I think this looks so cool. I think this might be the only other one that I do, and then I might just cut a couple piles for you guys and maybe go through the cards. I just almost asked if you'd like me to, but then I realized that you cannot really tell me if you would like for me to. I just realized that glue stick is really loud when I set it down, and I have not been very conscientious of it. It's actually pretty late. I've been really wanting to do a video, but like I said, I just wasn't getting the couponing supplies that I needed, so I improvised. So while this isn't solely a cutting video, I hope you guys still like it. So let's see, any other facts I have. Oh yes, speaking of assassination, Ford was the only president who had 2 females try to assassinate him separately. Not connected in any way. Possibly most likely like a copycat deal. Also, the movie Taxi Driver by Martin Scorsese was based on an assassination of a political figure, and a man named Hinckley watched that movie 15 times in theater and developed an unhealthy crush on Jodie Foster. Started sending her letters and then tried to emulate Robert De Niro's the main character Robert De Niro, and attempted to assassinate Ronald Reagan. So, just some trivia for you guys. So in a nutshell, it's not easy being president. The founding fathers were not perfect. In fact, they were hypocrites. But they did us a service. They continue to do us a service. It's dangerous. They put their lives at risk. And we should honor them today. Because as much as people have to complain in the United States, really guys, come on. We have it pretty good, if you ask me. So, this is my second bingo board. Very proud of myself. It's kind of messy. Whenever I try to get crafty, I find that my crafts turn out nice, but a little messy always. Alright, let me just do some cutting, and I'll just cut them into piles and sort through them later, just so that you guys who wanted to hear a cutting video can benefit from that. And I went with talking about facts about presidents that are not as widely known. I could talk about, Civil War and Revolutionary War and World War I and World War II and foreign policies, etc. But those are things that you learn in school. So I wanted to just share things that you don't hear every day. Because I find them interesting. For instance, Taft was the largest president, and he actually got stuck in the White House bathtub. Ulysses S. Grant smoked so many cigars a day, I think like at least 20. He died of throat cancer. The White House was the first president to live in the White House was John Adams in 1800. And the first President's Day was established in 1885. At first to honor George Washington's birthday, but then later it became, to honor all presidents. Okay, I'll cut one more piece of paper. Many of you guys might have the day off. I hope if you do that you're enjoying it. If you don't live in America, thank you for tuning in. If you'd like for me to discuss more about history, I would be happy to. I'm getting sloppy. It happens. Oh dear. I'm like not even cutting on the right line. It's okay. Hopefully people will appreciate the game that I provide. So I'm gonna wear that Thomas Jefferson wig at my sister's birthday party. And like I said, she's unaware of it. And when she walks in, I think that she will get a really big kick out of it. I hope you guys got a kick out of it. Okay. I'll just cut this out and then I will read you some fun facts and call it a night. So for these bingo cards, the bingo chips, I'm actually going to use pennies. Alright. I'm going to show you guys these cards. George Washington, first president. Something interesting about him, or not interesting, but historical. For those of you who are not from the United States and are not familiar with our presidents, or just would like a brief refreshment. He was the first president, commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. His portrait is on the $1 bill and the quarter, and his face is carved on Mount Rushmore. John Adams was the second president. He was the first vice president and the first president to live in the White House. Thomas Jefferson was the third president, governor of Virginia, authorized Louisiana Purchase, found in UVA. James Madison, president during the War of 1812. James Monroe signed the Missouri Compromise, forbidding slavery above southern border of Missouri. John Quincy Adams, sixth president, son of the second president, first president to have been photographed, served as co-counsel on the Amistad case, arguing that African rebels had a right to freedom. Andrew Jackson, seventh president, war hero in the Battle of New Orleans / War of 1812. Founder of the Democratic Party, portrait on the $20 bill. Martin Van Buren. Let's see. Eighth president. Only president to have learned English as a second language. First president born in the United States. William Harrison. Grandfather of 23rd president. From Ohio, served shortest term, 1 month. He died in office of pneumonia. John Tyler.